It's not ready. Do you think it really goes that far? That, ladies and gentlemen, is Edward Buck, greatest runner alive.
Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about a running shoe battle or running spike battle between the Nike Dragonfly and the Adidas Adizero Avanti. So to kick things off, so these shoes are, or these spikes are what we would call super spikes. So where that term comes from, a bit like the super shoes such as the Alpha Fly, your Vaporfly, Adidas Adios Pro, your Endorphin Pro, and all the other super shoes out there. So how spikes differ is they're just those shoes, but in a spike format. So they have a lot of high energy return foam. So the Dragonfly has Zoom X foam, and the Avanti, on the other hand, has Light Strike Pro. So they're both high energy return foams. And they also kind of have some sort of like shank system. So in the Avanti, you have these energy rods. These are like plastic. Whilst in the Dragonfly, we have like a full length track spike plate, which provides that stiffness, that rigidity to the shoe. Whilst super shoes, on the other hand, your road racing, such as your Alpha Fly, your Vaporfly, and so on, they have a carbon fiber plate, which provides that stiffness and rigidity, which helps, in that toe off or phase when you run. Okay, so both these spikes, in terms of their cushioning systems, so the Light Strike Pro and the Zoom X foam, when on the track, they feel really nice and bouncy and springy. And they both have quite a bit of foam compared to your traditional spikes, but enough foam to protect your legs over the longer distances, which is what these spikes are really designed for. Your 5k, your 10ks on the track, and you can use these for your shorter distances. So your 3ks, 1500, those middle distance areas. But there are other spikes out there which can do the same job a bit better, for you, because of the cushioning here. It can what really I'd say that they just where you kind of lose out a bit in those, like especially those middle distance events, is when it comes to like the last 200 meters of a race, where you're putting a kick down, in second place, you need to outkick first place. The extra cushioning here just doesn't help you get up right onto your toes and just sprint. They're not designed for full-on sprinting. Whilst in more middle distance spikes can be a bit more aggressive, and because it can be a bit more aggressive, it just allows you to get up onto your toes a bit easier. So yeah, these spikes are definitely used for those longer distance track races and also for training. So both these spikes are really good for training on the track. So if you have big workouts on the track, so let's say you're doing a 5 times 1k session on the track, preparing for like a 5k track race, wearing either of these spikes for that session, getting used to what wearing these spikes would be like for those races, can really help, because as compared to a traditional spike, they definitely save your calves, save your lower legs in particular, and your legs don't get as beat up as they normally would, which is what these spikes are really great for, your track sessions. On the track, you need to go into a spike. So in terms of like the performance, like in longer distance races, like on the track, and even for cross country, for some of those people who would use it for cross country, I've used both of these for cross country. So the Avanti feels a lot more like a trainer, because it's got a lot more twist to it. in that torsion system with the rods, and the rods allow it to twist more. It's got a bit, it's still got that snap to it, it's still got a bit of bend, and it does feel more like a trainer underfoot. And well, I say it's trainer, it's more like a racing, it feels more like a racing flat and trainer fit. And it has also, in terms of the fit, it's quite wide in toe box, and it has quite a trainer fit feel to it. So the Dragonfly is a bit more of an aggressive spike than the Avanti. Okay, you can see that in the shape of the shoe. It's just that got a little bit more of a curve to it. And it's a bit stiffer as well, so because of that full length spike plate that goes across the shoe. It's a lot harder for me to twist, so this means that this spike, you know, if you wanted like really like pick it up, you know, get onto your toes, you know, if you're doing like a long set of, you know, 400-meter repeats, this spike, you'll feel like you're running with a spike, not like almost like a traditional spike, but it'll just have that cushioning underfoot, and your calves will just like really thank you for it. So yeah, in terms of like concluding like how they feel on a performance basis, the Dragonfly feels more like a spike with a bit of extra cushioning to it, whilst the Avanti feels more like a racing flat with spikes on it. Okay, so in terms of the weight of the shoes, I'll just put them on the weighing scale now. Okay, so the Dragonfly is coming out with a weight of 144 grams. Now I expect this spike to be lighter, whilst the Avanti has a weight of 172 grams. Okay, so yes, so the Dragonfly is lighter of a spike. So if you want the lighter spike of the two, Dragonfly is lighter. That's partly due to its shape. It's a bit more minimal in its design than the Avanti, and again, because it has that more of a spike feel than a trainer feel compared to the Avanti. So the Dragonfly is not giving me any issues whatsoever when it comes to races. So I've run some cross-country races in this, and some fast cross-country races in the US, and also done UK cross-country in this. I wouldn't wear this for UK cross-country. I'd wear a normal spike, not a super spike, you know, traditional cross-country spike. But yeah, I'd definitely be wearing this for track races in the future. I haven't worn this necessarily for a track race, but when we did a regionals 10K for cross country, I felt that, yeah, this spike is really good and great on the track. So I have obviously done workouts in this spike on the track, and I've really enjoyed it doing workouts with this spike on the track, much more than the Avanti, just because I like the fit of the Dragonfly fits my foot a bit better. The only issue I've had is I've had to use some sort of like lace locked technique, well, makeshift one, because there's not enough loopholes here to kind of lock my heel in. But as long as I get the right combination of socks, so I wouldn't wear brand new socks with the Dragonflies, but I would still wear socks, because you'd be wearing these for long workouts and long track workouts and long races. You want socks because you don't want to get blisters. But yeah, this spike here is definitely my favourite of the two, because of that fit and the feel. It just feels a lot better. So the Avanti, so I've had this spike for longer. I have done a few 10K track races in this. I have done a few sessions on both the grass, not the road, for obvious reasons, the track, some long sessions on both the grass and track, and I've done I think 1 or 2 cross-country races in this one. I haven't decided to use these or just than the other spikes. So in terms of this spike, like I said, it feels more like a trainer than a spike, and that brings it on to its absolutely major flaw that Adidas need to fix 110%. They need to put all their resources to fixing this issue, and that is the issue of blisters. Okay, now I'm not talking about blisters in like your heel, so in this region. Again, this shoe actually fits me better around the heel than the Dragonfly does, because it's got a bit more structure to it. But in the worst place you could possibly get a blister, that being the ball of your foot. People who've had blisters under the ball of their foot will know it's the worst possible place you can get a blister, because no matter what you do, you're going to put weight on it. And some of the blisters I've had in this spike, you know, I've had a blister coming on 3 miles into a 10K race on a track, and I have to do another 3 more miles, whilst every step hurts. And in one of my track races, I'll put a photo of the spikes after I finished. But I think this is the right shoe, but on my left shoe, there's a permanent red stain. That's because one of my blisters had popped and become a blood blister. Yeah, that says enough. So you don't want to be, no one wants to be doing a 10K track race and then have to suffer a blood blister that pops, and then, you know, for the rest of the race, you're kind of like having to hobble around whilst trying to run. Well, for me, it was like 5-minute mile pace or faster, whilst it hurts every single step. It's an absolutely horrible feeling. And the reason for these spikes causing this issue, from what I believe at least, and that's because of this gap here. Okay, so particularly these energy rods. So in terms of like, for me, it's mainly on my left shoe, so this is my right shoe. So the left shoe, when I go around the track, because, you know, you're going all the time in one direction around the track. You know, the track's always on your left hand side when you do a track race, so you're constantly turning in a way to your left, well, on the bends at least. And so and because of that little gap there, it means that there's actually a slight difference in terms of, if you don't land, like, you know, perfectly, like, if you don't land like heel toe transition like that, well, I know not a lot of runners are heel to toe strikers, so you land midfoot and forefoot. But if you have any kind of lateral movement whilst turning those bends, you'll get that sliding force happening. And there's no issue I found to preventing this. So I've worn double layer socks, and another socks underneath. The only way I found preventative of stopping it was almost getting a blister plaster covered in tape, put one sock on and then another sock on over the top, and I still felt a blister coming on, but as in, it didn't feel too bad. And that, I shouldn't have to do that whenever I do a track race, you know, with one of my spikes. Well, especially the spikes, these spikes aren't cheap. I think I got this one for about £130. I think the Dragonfly, well, I got given these at USF. So, but again, these spikes aren't the cheapest of spikes. You don't want to be spending, you know, a good amount of money just for, you know, to get blisters. So that's my big issue with this spike, is whenever I've done, you know, a long track race, so 10K track racing, sometimes even longer workouts, I have had a horrible blister. And I remember after one of the 10K races, I was hobbling the next day on my run. It was that bad. And even on grass sessions, particularly, or even like cross-country courses with a lot of corners, again, the same issue arises because of the sliding force whenever you're turning a corner. Because this shoe fits more like a trainer, it doesn't hold your forefoot as tight, as you know, as typically a spike would. So because you get a bit more sliding there, you know, it causes the issue of a blister on the ball of your foot. So for anyone wondering about buying these spikes in particular, see if you can try them out first, because, you know, you want to try them out, and if you're getting blisters, just return them and get another spike. Okay, it's not worth it. I tried training with these for the entire summer for my track races. I mean, you just heard me now. There's no way of fixing the blister issue unless you have to do excessive preventative measures for it. And even still, there's no guarantee it won't happen on the other foot if you do like a cross-country races. So I'd say be careful before buying these. So yeah, to conclude on these spikes, Dragonfly, without a doubt, is the better spike for both racing and training for me. Just because of that major flaw with this spike being blisters. especially when doing track workouts, because I'm going around the track in one direction. For cross country, I mean, again, still have the issue of blisters in these, even like particularly like courses which have, you know, can be a bit wet or can have a lot of corners in them. So again, still pick the Dragonfly. And again, the Dragonfly is a little bit lighter than the Avanti, so it's, you know, just a tiny bit faster. I mean, it's not by much. Dragonfly is definitely more of a racing spike. The Avanti feels more like a training spike. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this review on these two spikes, comparing them. Yeah, stay tuned for future episodes.
That's a good wisdom.